in the sky, gazing far into the night. I raise my hand to the fire, but it's no use, 'cause you can't stop it from shining through. It's true, baby, let the light shine through. If you believe it's true, baby, won't you let the light shine through for you. In the sky, gazing far into the night. I raise my hand to the fire, but it's no use, 'cause you can't stop it from shining through. It's true, baby, let the light shine through. If you believe it's true, baby, won't you let the light shine through for you.
Good evening there and welcome to the latest Elite FPL Sunday Surgery episode. It's myself and Jason. We'll be going through obviously today's games. We'll obviously be wanting to get your calls in regarding all things fantasy football, especially if you have any issues with your team and the fact that me and Jason are here to help. But Jason, good evening, and as ever, who's in the chat, my friend?
We've got some new moderators in the chat. Congratulations to Matt Branton, to Brew, to all the other guys as well in Discord. I haven't yet modded in the stream. We've got Gabriel de Rop, FPL Little Saints, One Rovers Vlogs. We've got Paul Gray, Cameron Rawcliffe, Ryan 0605, Carl Kirsten, Gorillas Snow. We've got Dara in chat as well. We've got Shay McGuinness, Resi Desi, Cameron Rudge, Noel Sphinx. We've got a lot of members that we've just keep coming back, like Sultan Saeed, Ad Whitfield, Ian Rose, FPL Pitch, and many more. VAR, welcome. It's been a pretty disappointing game week for a lot of people. We listened yesterday. It was a marathon stream. I just want to say, Steve-O, massive respect to you, buddy, for going as long as you did, and you wore a suit as well, or a shirt and tie at the very least. So, absolutely cracking. Just wanted to also mention that it was great to hear from some people that did really well yesterday and had Agüero in their teams. Massive congratulations.
Yeah, absolutely. Yesterday was amazing. We went on for 4 hours and 48 minutes. I was so wanting to do over 5 hours, but the time was just dragging, and I couldn't do any further at all. But as I'm totaling up, you may be wondering why my head's down on what I'm doing. I'm just totaling up our predictions and everything, and surprise, surprise, Steve-O's come out on top again. Like I say,
it's hard being you in it, Steve-O.
Yeah. Honestly, I should just quit fantasy football and just stick to predicting games, because I seem to just do quite well at predicting stuff. But yeah, have you felt? Let's go over today's game, shall we, Jason? We had obviously Wolves versus Everton. Everton winning 3-2. I mean, they haven't conceded at home since February, I believe. All of a sudden today, Wolves come into town, a team that I thought were going to draw every game of the season, go and lose 3-2. Bowley was sent off in the last minute. And who brought in Bowley this week, Jason? Someone brought in Bowley in our Cash Mini League, would you believe?
I'm trying to think now. I don't have a clue.
It doesn't matter. It's number 1. It's Marlon.
Marlon brought in Bowley. Oh.
For Wan-Bissaka. Yeah, and would you believe it?
Wan-Bissaka scored him.
Assists. And I'm thinking, as ever, when you're top, when your luck's in, and then he goes and gets a red card, and he turns up with 1 single point. So we had Richarlison scoring twice. Of course, Sigurdsson comes and assists. So, yeah, it was Richarlison with 2 goals, Iwobi with 1. We had Digne, Sigurdsson and Keane. That's Moise Keane with the 3 assists. And then Sace and Jimenez with the goals for Wolves. And it was Bowley with the assist there. And then moving on to the Arsenal game, 2-2. Wow, goals galore there. And, of course, Kane gets a standard penalty. I think that's his 10th penalty against Arsenal in a row. But Aubameyang and Lacazette with the goals, Guendouzi and Pepe with the assist there. Kane and Eriksen with the goals for Tottenham, and Son and Lamela with the assists. And Ceballos, Jason, didn't even start.
I'm disappointed, but he did look good when he was on the field. I think that against the bigger teams, he just doesn't seem to want to risk starting Ceballos. So I don't know. I just think that we also saw that against Liverpool, didn't we? I think that it's too late. I've already got him in my team. I've got to keep him now, and I've got big fires to sort out in my team. My fires are Wan-Bissaka and Rashford. We'll get to that in the preview for Game Week 5 is miles away. Am I going to wildcard? Probably not. What is going on? We've got a super chat at the moment from Matt Brunton. Ridiculously super chatting. I mean, £50 is completely wow. That's amazing, but absolutely just another 2 tenfolds coming in. Jason made an Aka band on Discord. What? Hang on. Another 2 tenfolds coming in. Jason made an Aka panel on Discord. There we go. Get on it and put your bets in there for me to steal. Steve-O loved the stream yesterday, but your tie was the wrong colour. That's why Pookie blanked. Blame Steve-O.
Well, I didn't have a yellow tie, so I was lucky to even be wearing a tie, to be honest with you, Jason, because I do not own anything other than black shorts. Adidas jumpers, if you want to send me a free one by all means, but Adidas jumpers, because they cost these cost like 60, 70 quid.
The way it's going, you'll be able to just buy your own custom Elite FPL one at the moment.
Yeah. Yes.
Other brands are available, but I mean that's very much appreciated, Matt. And also he's asking where's the vodka? You got any left? And I mean Steve-O's was downing it from the bottle last time. So I don't know how much is left now. But Matt, again, that's very kind of you, buddy. That's very, very kind of you.
Thank you. But we obviously had yesterday to contend with, and I'll straight away. I know you gave your thoughts on United yesterday. You've had time to calm down, or have you, Jason? Your thoughts on United's just tragic result? Yes, pathetic.
I was wrong. I was so wrong. I was so hopeful about Man United at the beginning of the season. We had a good pre-season. I know we shouldn't look into pre-season too much. I understand that. But I genuinely thought that Ollie could have turned the corner. It would have been a good atmosphere in the dressing room, and maybe Pogba could actually play like the player we know him to. But it's the whole. He just doesn't seem interested. Rashford, I don't know what was going on with Rashford. He could have easily. I mean, he just was. The positioning was awful. His positioning was awful, and it just doesn't look like scoring. It doesn't look like doing anything.
Sorry, Jason, to interrupt. I'm going to deliberately answer this troll's question. Shane FPL, I'm going to call you out, and I'm going to give you the answer. Should I get rid of Sergio Agüero? Yeah, get rid of him. Anyway, Jason, you're talking about United. Carry on.
Yeah. I've basically, I'm going to let you know. I've got rid of Rashford and I've got rid of Wan-Bissaka. They're out of my team. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm not surprised, but okay, for a -4.
Yeah.
Why?
Why
now?
I've lost patience, mate. One, because I'm sick. I'm absolutely sick of first of all being disappointed as a United supporter, and then compounding being disappointed from an FPL point of view. I just thought enough is enough, and to be honest with you, the ice cream van defense, yeah, absolutely. No, the replacements are just, in my eyes, just better in all avenues, shapes.
Are you willing to disclose who you brought in? I mean,
yeah, Trent Alexander-Arnold for Wan-Bissaka and Tammy Abraham for Rashford.
Oh really? I was listening to the stream, your stream, and I'm sure it was FPL Boona that made a point about why would you bring in Abraham when they've got really two bad fixtures? Am I right in saying so? Up next, they are where are we looking here? Away at Wolves. That ain't gonna be easy. And then aren't they at home to Liverpool? Next, the following game,
they've got a few dicey fixtures, but then look at after that though, mate. It's a sea of green, and I'm thinking, right, I'm not gonna. I mean, you know what? I've known people wildcard this week, but my plan was to wildcard game week 4, but I don't think Wolves is too bad. I think Wolves they can score against Wolves. I think there could be another game where there's goals either side, and I like the look of Tammy Abraham. I watched the highlights. His positioning's good. He's got a lot of service from the midfield. And FPL Boona with a £10 super chat says, I also had some wins today. So a massive thank you for your continued hard work, and in particular Steve-O for yesterday. Absolute marathon, man. Steve-O, I completely agree with Boona there. Come on, you Spurs. Thought Arsenal were going to destroy us, Jay. Hey, look, you Boona, you were worried. You were nervous, mate. Second half of that game, you were nervous. And for the last quarter of the game, it was pretty much, I know it was a bit like a basketball game end to end, but it could have easily gone in the favour of Arsenal. It was a good game for a neutral point of view. It really was, but a very disappointing game for myself as a Ceballos owner, as we mentioned earlier on. Still would like to see how Pepe fares as the season progresses. I think he's a bit too much for people to just bring in. I mean, he's the same price as KDB pretty much, but I just think that I know we had a couple of people that had, who was the guy who had Pepe and Aubameyang in?
Football Focus.
That was it. Yeah, so well done to him.
And he is there in chat, by the way, as well.
Well done to him.
Discord,
yeah.
But
yeah, thank you ever so much for that super chat. That's very kind of you all for doing that. That's really, and again, it goes back into the stream. and we're gonna try and buy Stevie a better internet connection. It's in the post. But we got an Elite FPL mug watching the stream. Oh, nice one, Cameron. Also, a question to answer a question about Manager of the Month awards. This isn't a full month.
Yeah.
August isn't a full month, so I'm sorry, guys. It's not going to start until September. So
Really?
Yeah. Oh. So the mug awards will start in September. All right, and also the cash rewards for £10, because I think it's 10 cash rewards of £10. You got.
I was going to say, I haven't even given you my opinion on your transfers, and I do like the Trent Alexander-Arnold one. That is one that's going around in my mind about whether to bring in ahead of Van Dijk. But it just, Aussie Boy made a very interesting point last night, because he was thinking of bringing in Trent Alexander-Arnold for Robertson, and me and Boona were like, oh, it's a bit sideways. But Aussie made a very good point, and it's true. It's that, number one, it's early in the season. And number two, for the amount of probable points that Alexander-Arnold is going to get ahead of Robertson. Because you said, didn't you, that you think that last season was just an anomaly, and you think that Robertson's going to revert back to type, whereas Alexander-Arnold is just going to continue dominating the assists and maybe goals as well. And I'm tempted by bringing in him for Van Dijk.
Well, I'm happy to keep Van Dijk. I mean, so what do you think of the moves?
Sorry,
what do you actually think of the moves?
Forget that. My apologies. I was actually thinking of going double Liverpool. What the hell am I talking about? Yeah, double Liverpool. So I was thinking of going Van Dijk, Trent, and Digne. Yeah. For my three defenders and getting rid of Zinchenko. That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah. But, maybe, well, I was thinking along the line. If I were to wildcard, I'm a little bit worried about Ceballos. I am a little bit worried. I do think he's a great talent, but I'm willing to stick with him. But if I was to wildcard, I probably would look at replacing a few players in terms of, like, I probably would just downgrade Zinchenko to like a Burnley defender or something. Mm-hmm. Upgrade Ceballos to, I mean, I've already got Abraham, probably sort of like a Grealish, or another 6+ million midfielder. I'm just thinking, I mean, there's not too many. This is the reason why I won't wildcard. I mean, that to me, that team is just how I want it. In an ideal world, I would probably have Nick Pope in goal purely because of the fixtures, but I can always do that after. I can always do that in the future. But Pukki at home to Man City, I'm not expecting a lot from.
Why would you? I'm sorry, but why would you want to get rid of Tom Heaton? I mean, ironically, he got more points than Pope yesterday, as an example.
I don't know. I just like Burnley. I think, but yeah, I think I probably would go with a like Peters or something in defence. We'd go with Burnley defender or something as opposed. But yeah, sometimes I just think when you wildcard, you kind of look for problems that aren't really there, and you think, well, I can change this player around, I can change that player around, but there's absolutely no need. And sometimes the best thing is to just do what I've done, -4, take the 2 players out of my team that I'm not happy with. Wan-Bissaka gone, Rashford gone. Rashford was always one that it was just a complete hope that he was going to score well, because he was a massive differential for me. It just didn't pay off. Sometimes you can be stubborn and keep players in longer than what you should. You watch, someone said it in chat a minute ago, you watch, Rashford will probably get a brace next game. But you know what? I don't care, because I've made my mind up. It's do we think Ceballos comes back in the team? I think so. I think I don't think Emre is going to be playing him against the top teams. I think he's only going to be playing against the rubbish. Yeah, like Watford.
So I think that So I think that certainly he'll be back for whoever they're playing next.
Yeah, but have you done any changes to your teams? Obviously, I've just revealed my cards.
No, I don't need to. The only, like I said, I've already said it. If I am going to make a change, it is going to be to bring in Trent Alexander-Arnold. But I'm desperate to do anything. I'm actually still happy with my team. I'm just being very unlucky as ever with my captaincy picks, and I just find it really ironic that the advice, it's not advice, but the thought processes that I say out loud during any stream, whether it's the this stream, the Southern Hemisphere streams or whatnot, people listen to what I'm saying. They're like, do you know what, I'm going to do it. But I never do it myself. And yet they take Keyboy as an example. Prime example of somebody that captained Kevin De Bruyne yesterday. When I had the captaincy on him, I made a perfectly valid argument why I would captain him. Did I do it? Nah, why would I?
Well, to be fair, I will
Pookie.
say that you kind of split from your normal safe and sensible self, and you went with Pookie. I'm still surprised that you did. That you went with Pookie.
Are you really?
Yeah.
West Ham
No,
defense,
honestly, I just thought you would gone with. I genuinely thought you were going to go with Sterling.
Nah.
But
The reasoning being is because when it comes to game weeks like this, yeah, don't get me wrong, playing safe is all right, but reality is that I would miss out on only the X amount of points on top if I had captained him. Because I still only, now don't get me wrong, as I said on the stream yesterday, thank goodness Sterling didn't do anything. I just assumed that Pookie would score at least one against West Ham, and they keep a clean sheet. It's ridiculous. No one can envisage that. And in fact, you made this point yesterday on the stream, on your one, where you said that if you were told that Man City were to score 4 goals versus Brighton and Sterling was the blank, you'd have been taken to the mental institute.
yeah,
And that's exactly what happened.
I said I feared Agüero so much. I just had a gut feeling that Agüero was going to do well. And he did, but guess what they got next? They got Norwich next, and Norwich defence.
I'm telling you now, if you own Agüero, he's getting a hat-trick.
Oh, do you know there's so many people ripping up their teams to get Agüero in, and even wildcarding just to get Agüero in, and I'm thinking, wow.
According to Shane FPL, he wants to get rid of him.
There's some people that they're genuinely thinking the triple up: De Bruyne, Agüero, Sterling. They're tripling up.
Agree.
Would you do that? Would you condone that? I mean, I just think that's
absolutely, yeah. I mean, the players. Let's be completely honest here. What midfielders are performing at the moment, other than them two and Salah, and throw in Mane as well? I know FPL Boona was talking about having Salah, Mane, De Bruyne, and Sterling
consistently.
Now, don't get me wrong.
No one consistently. No, but.
Yeah, there's no one consistent doing anything. So you're able to bring in people like Cantwell, Dendoncker as 2 prime examples. Maybe at a stretch, Ceballos or what's his face, McGinn, 2 really cheap midfielders. And you don't really need striker-wise. You've got, who are the most performing players at the moment? You've got Pookie, Barnes, Firmino, and Agüero off the top, and then maybe at Aubameyang, Lacazette at a push. But yeah, I think that I would definitely condone Sterling, De Bruyne, and Agüero. You've got the best attacking team.
That's a lot of money, though. That's a lot of money in 3 players. But I mean, I can see why people are doing it. And to be honest with you, against Norwich, it could definitely be a cricket score.
Talking of wildcards, did you create the poll that I said to you?
I'll do it now.
Right. Okay. So what this poll is, everybody, and this is important to you guys. So Jason is about to do a poll. And it's about your community team. The question is as simple as this. Do you guys want to wildcard your community team? And what I'm going to do is I'll post that team into the Discord, rate my team section. You'll be able to have a look at it. I'm sure Jason will be able to bring it up when I actually put it on. But basically, the simple question is this. Do you want to wildcard that community team? And basically, so yesterday, Jason, just a quick question: were there any, apart from maybe Man U drawing with Southampton, West Ham 2-0 versus Norwich, Chelsea 2-2, any other games that you were very disappointed in from a real life perspective?
Well, other than the Man United game.
Well, other than the 3 that I mentioned, really, because.
Disappointed? What, in terms of FPL point? Well, yeah. I mean, it all comes down to my team, really. I mean, Man United deflated me the most. Like, I was so annoyed about Man United, and because that was my differential in Rashford. I know the rest of my team has done okay. I'm annoyed that he conceded. But I mean, again, it's always an if. Away at Crystal Palace, 1-0. Not really. I'm not. I mean, most of the results aren't that out of the ordinary. I think Norwich. I can't, like you said. I can't believe that Norwich didn't score against West Ham. I just genuinely thought they would concede, but I thought Pukki would probably get something in that game. Very surprised that he didn't. And the Everton Wolves game was quite a few goals in that, and Sigurdsson got an assist as well, the troll, and Richarlison, even bigger troll, with 2 goals. I just think that it was nice to get the Digne bonus point, by the way. If you didn't know,
you got a bonus point.
You got a bonus point. Yeah.
Did you really?
He got 1 bonus point. Yeah. So it was nice to get that. That's the ice. That's my only bit of good news today. Is that Digne got a bonus point. So well done to him.
I'm just hoping I get a green arrow for my overall ranking. I'm hoping I get a green arrow
let's bring your team up. So, because you guys have seen my team on the screen for so long now, let's bring Steve-O's team up. So Steve-O's team is pretty similar to mine, to be honest with you. Other than the fact that he's got the likes of Mason Mount, he's got a 4-5-1 instead of 4-4-2. He's got, I mean, your guys that you had over me.
Well, it's actually a 3-5-2. It's just the fact that I wanted to bench Barnes because I actually thought Gilbert had more of a chance of returning some points.
Gilbert.
Ironically, I should have just played Barnes because he got me 1 extra point for just appearing and not getting a yellow card. I did jinx it. The result of I was listening back to my stream and I said that I may as well jinx the Crystal Palace match because it's going to end probably 1-0 to Crystal Palace now, and a few minutes later that's exactly what happened. Gilbert goes and loses his clean sheet, and that was the one differential on my team that I needed to do something after I realised Pukki wasn't going to do anything. Other than that, I look at that team and like I said, it's a 3-5-2 usually formation, and I'm pretty happy with it. I don't need to do much with it. I mean, funny enough, talking of changing up teams' wildcards, I had a quick look at regular contributor FPL Lads wildcard team. He got 53. He's at 24th, and he's on 53 points. And I've actually looked at the team previous last week, and I think that it may have done only a tad bit better than this one.
I mean,
so
it's the pick. Obviously, Norwich has let him down. Laporte has been a killer for him. That's just so unlucky for Laporte owners yesterday. It looks like he's going to have to be a fire to get out of the team, really. And I think it was another person I spoke to with Laporte.
Zulu Ninja.
Zulu Ninja has actually got players on the bench that he could, if he wanted to, play, and he could just bench Laporte. Obviously, he had a few fires in that team that he could possibly be moving on, but without taking a hit, he could, because he had Barnes on the bench that he could play. Well, Barnes has got some great fixtures going forward. He's got the ability, but obviously for people like FPL Lad, his bench doesn't leave a lot to be desired, and I think that he's going to definitely have to make that transfer to get Laporte out. But other than that, it's a solid team going forward. He's got Lanzini in. Barnes is there ready for the nice run of fixtures.
I asked this question to Aussie Boy, and unfortunately I had to cut him off because of an incident in the Liverpool game. We kind of got the general idea of what he said, but I'll ask you this, even though you're a rival. But how do you think people that are lower down, well, people like myself, that are lower down in the mini league can catch any of the guys in the top 4? Because I look at the top 4 cash places in this cash mini league, and I'm like, I've got him. You get the idea.
Yeah,
and it's going to be very difficult for me to get, or even yourself, trying to get up into those cash places.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking now. It's like, it's the players. It's the so many same players. I mean, it's going to need someone like Zinchenko to be dropped for Mendy or something like that, for people to just move on to a different defender and to move away from these assets. Like, I mean, I can't see anyone moving away from Digne. Can't see anyone realistically moving away from Van Dijk. Mount, I can see people moving away from. Ceballos, like myself, I can see people getting frustrated if he doesn't get returns. That's what we need. We need people to start venturing out and bringing in different players.
I actually asked him to come on chat. So last week we had a little chuckle at Ian Rose, who has used all his chips basically.
He was doing really well. He's doing really well, isn't he?
Have you seen his team? Extraordinary. So he captained Kevin De Bruyne.
Oh, wow.
He's on 72 points, and today he had Digne and Moise Kean playing. Would you believe?
No way, dude.
Yeah. When your luck's in, and this is
Martial sitting there injured on the bench as well. Well done to Ian Rose. 72 points, massive green.
I'm assuming he's going to get up to what? Maybe third, pushing it with that Moise Kean differential. I mean, I could quickly look over the
my
guys
phone's
in the
dead.
top
I'll check, but my phone's dead. But yeah, he's probably going to be moving up back into the top 4 in the Cash Mini League.
But he's 4th now, so that's what I'm saying. I think he is going to go 3rd because of the amount of points Digne and Keane got. I think it's going to be very, very close, though. My maths is rubbish, but it's going to be very, very close for Ian Rose getting back into 3rd spot. It is just standard is just
Wow.
It's very, very close.
Yeah, 65 points from. Wow, that's ridiculous. I mean, these guys. I mean, they're going to be hard to catch. Really hard to catch. But it's a game week. It's 38 game weeks in the season. There's plenty of time to catch them up. I think it's going to boil down to your strategy and the wildcard strategy, the strategy on the chips, like the triple captain could definitely play, and the bench boost and the free hit. I mean, these chips, you're just going to have to plan them really well.
I was going to say, again, I know we keep saying this, but me and you are just 2 individuals that are part of this, and I'm sure there are many others in this mini league that haven't used any chips whatsoever. Must be a bit confident at the fact that the guys at top, I mean, there are the odd anomaly here and there that haven't used their chips. I'm fully aware of this, but the fact that we haven't used our chips, we've got that opportunity to catch the top 4 places.
Yeah, I mean, you always got to be optimistic when you see your opponents or rivals playing their chips above you, especially if they don't necessarily pay off. I mean, we've seen people wildcard in the last few weeks not really get much higher scores than ours. It's an advantage, of course it is.
I just want to mention the community, so the free mini league, and the guy that's top is 48th in the whole world.
Oh wow!
And he played his bench boost.
He played his bench boost. Let's bring the community. Let's bring the community league up. So this is the community league. We're currently sitting, I think, over 30. I think 31 pages or 30 pages of teams, which is a ridiculous amount of people.
And I'm wondering if after this game week, when everything's all totaled up, is our mini league going to be in the top average scorers in the whole of the game when it comes to when the fantasy game actually puts up the best leagues? It hasn't actually said why it hasn't actually updated putting them up yet. I'm assuming that it'll be after 4 or 5 game weeks. Yeah. But I'm wondering if the Elite FPL Community Mini League or even the Cash Mini League, it'll probably be the Community Mini League.
I think the Community Mini League, because there's a lot of people in the top few hundred there. But yeah, massive score for Frogs R Us of Albona. Yeah. Cavoli, well done for your bench boost. Sayunku, Lundstrom, Cantwell, Patricio. Wasn't the best bench boost really in terms, but I mean, you've got the points from Firmino, De Bruyne, and Adrian in goal. It's 68 points. It's well above the average, and well done for being. Where is he again? 48th in the world. That's ridiculous. But again, he's used his chips. So
I was going to say, so obviously today it's the Sunday surgery. We're here to take your calls about if you think your team needs surgery. And just a quick reminder that Jason has put a poll in the Discord. Do you want to wildcard the Elite FPL community team? I have posted in the Rate My Team, so check it out. Do you want to wildcard that team? Jason, I thought I'd let you know, and there there is well, I'm assuming it's a female, in the waiting room. Her name's Jane. I'm just going to assume it is a woman.
Okay.
Be interested to see if of our 0 viewers, if this is
It'd be amazing
a female
if
that actually watches us.
Okay. Good evening, Jane. You're the first caller on the Sunday surgery. Can you hear me? Good evening, Jane. You currently got yourself muted. Can you hear us? Jane.
Come on, Jane. Don't
Come on,
let us
Jane.
down.
Come on, Jane. Jane, are you there? Can you hear us, Jane? I think Jane may be having technical issues of trying to talk. Oh, we may. Jane, are you there? Can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Jane, are you?
Sorry.
Jane, how are you doing, Jane?
Good. Sorry, it's my first time on stream, so I never connected to the waiting room before.
That's fine. Jane, we're detecting an accent. Where are you from?
I'm from far about. I'm from Central Asia. I'm from Uzbekistan. I don't know if you've ever heard of that place, but yeah, far away.
Oh, there's me thinking I was going to flirt with somebody, and what a shame. Anyway,
Jane, how's your game week been, my friend?
It's pretty average. I got about 60 points.
60
Very
points.
good.
Okay, have you posted your team in the Rate My Team?
Yeah, about 10 minutes ago, I think.
Let's bring it up on the screen. You've been a member of Discord for a few weeks now, I think. Is that right?
Yeah, I just joined maybe like 2 weeks ago.
And how are you finding it on Discord?
Oh, I'm on there every day, and I try to watch every stream, and I'm really enjoying it. I discovered the game like a month ago, and I always wanted to join that thing, and it's my first time, so yeah.
Oh, wow. So you're brand new to fantasy football.
I followed the Premier League closely, but I never really played. So this time I decided to join, and just as a hobby.
What? Yeah. So I take it your name isn't really Jane?
It's close, yeah. It's based off my name, yeah.
Oh, okay. So anyway, let's talk about your team. You've posted your team in here, so you've got your team value. You've got Ryan and Button, obviously. Ryan didn't get you many points this week. You got Van Dijk, Digne, Zinchenko, the usual three. Lundstrom and Kelly. You probably played. Yeah, you played a 4. What did you play?
What formation are you going with?
Well, did you play a 4-4-3? No, 4-4-2. Sorry, 4-4-2.
4-4-2 with Kelly in and Lundstrom on the bench.
Yeah, 4-4-2. So yeah, who did you captain, Jane?
I captain Sterling.
Okay. So
yeah.
Who immediately I'm looking at that team. I really am looking at this team, thinking, is there anyone that I would want to get out? Jimenez ticking over the points. I'm not a fan of Jimenez, but is there anyone that you're thinking of getting out of your team?
So I was on a plane earlier today, and I had time to go over the team because I have nothing else to do, and I got a random idea to, if Jimenez doesn't do well, to get him out, get Firmino in, and get Pulisic out, and get a 6 million midfielder because I have 0.6 in the bank. Like get a Romelo or a Trossard and get Pulisic out because I haven't been too happy with him, and the next 2 fixtures are pretty bad.
Let's get who in for Jimenez, sorry?
Probably Firmino.
I like it. I like the Firmino move.
Yeah, and I just want to get Pulisic out because he's got some points, but I expected more, and I think Mount is better value, but I still think Chelsea's next 2 fixtures are pretty bad, so probably thinking Trossard or Lamela, leaning towards Trossard.
I'm not convinced in Pulisic. Mason Mount obviously not getting anything this week. Pulisic getting a very lucky assist, in my opinion. I think the best the best pick for me is Tammy Abraham in that Chelsea team, purely because I think he's on form. Lampard seems to love him, as well as Mason Mount, and I think that he's I wouldn't say, I think he can score against Wolves, and I'm not too worried about the difficult fixtures with him. I just I think he's a great value. I look at that team there, and I think there's no necessary changes to make. But if you were going to do the downgrade of Pulisic and the upgrade of Jimenez to Firmino, I think that would be a great move.
Yeah, or the second option would be to get like a Son or Pepe instead of Pulisic and get a 6 million striker, maybe like Mopé, something like that, because he has pretty good fixtures.
Okay, Son. You could afford that?
Yeah, because I have 0.6 in the bank. So...
Oh, 0.6 in the bank. Yeah. I mean, both are really good options, really. Looking at Spurs fixtures, I don't know about Son. I think that everyone's gone quiet on Son. I think that Bruno would probably agree that he's not too optimistic with Spurs at the moment. They're just not looking very good. But the fixtures wise, I mean, Spurs have got some great fixtures. I think Son is going to becoming more in the front minds of many people going forward. I mean, he was always going to be someone that pre-season people were bringing him in after his 2-game suspension. I think purely because of the surgence of points that Kevin De Bruyne has got, people have kind of just jumped onto Kevin De Bruyne, and that money's gone there instead of into Son. Now Agüero's coming into play, there'll be even less money to play with. So I think you may be onto something there. I think if you go with Son, I mean, it's a differential that can return points, and it's just a question of whether or not he'll live up to the same sort of points as other picks at that price range, really. But no, I like the team, and I think that either option could bode well for you. Steve-O?
Yeah.
No, I completely agree. I was even looking at maybe... What about thinking about Jamie Vardy? But then I saw his fixtures and I was just like, nah, just avoid. I must admit, the Firmino pick I think is really, really good.
I think I prefer the Firmino pick. Yeah.
Would you pick Trossard or Lamela for the 6 million I have? Because I don't want to go with Sabalius. Because
I'd say Lamela, but it's about rotation. I don't know if he's guaranteed to start or not, but if he is, then Lamela is your man. He seems to have been doing really well this season as well, hasn't he, Jason? I don't know the exact stats, but I think he's returned in virtually every game that he started this season, virtually.
I mean, he had a shot which Leno saved, and it came out to Christian Eriksen. And, I think that I mean, he's looking lively for Spurs. I think toss a coin. I think people in chat, I mean, what do you think? McGinn says Resi Desi. FPL Mechanics says Trossard. Cameron Redcliffe in chat saying Tottenham need another striker. They're relying on Kane too much. I'm not worried about Kane. People own Kane. I mean, I said it all week. Pretty much since the game week 1. I'm just not worried about Kane. I just don't think he's that great. Roman Jarvis says Ceballos. I mean, I'm a Ceballos owner, but I'm still a little bit dubious about him. Trossard 100% says Philip Domovsky. This is another one. This is a good name. Dan James, possibly. Seems to be a bit of a live wire. I don't want to advocate any Man United players right now. So bring him in at your peril. But
I wouldn't have enough money for James because he's 6.1, so it has to be a 6 million or lower. So it's either Trossard or Lamela probably, but I had Jimenez and Pulisic since game week 1, and I was stubborn to change them. They have been getting some returns recently, but the Pulisic is pretty disappointing. I think as being the highest, the most expensive player they ever purchased, I think Mount is better value, much better value, but the fixtures are not that great.
Well, let's hope you're wrong, because I brought in Tammy Abraham this week. So, but thank you ever so much, Jane, for coming on. Appreciate it.
No, thank you, and thanks for doing all this stuff, and
it's amazing to get it's amazing to get a caller from Uzbekistan live on air.
Yes,
that's just ridiculously awesome. Thank you ever so much.
Appreciate the work you guys do, and I'm trying to get more people involved in this thing, and I've even had friends joining game week 2 and 3 just to be part of something that's exciting, and having a channel that's, that produces daily content is pretty cool. So thanks, guys.
Thank you.
No,
Thank
thank you.
We'll speak soon. Cheers now.
All right.
Wow, that was potentially going to be our first possible female caller, but it's just someone that's names similar to Jane. So yeah, one day we will bring our first female caller on. We look forward to it. Stevie.
I've just done a quick jokey wild card to fit Agüero in, and this is what I've come up with.
Okay, go on then.
So the same goalkeepers, Button and Pope, and then we've gone with it would be a 4-4-2, and it would be Digne, Alexander-Arnold, and then rotational pairing or triple up with Peters, Lundstrom, and Gilbert. Then of course it's Mane, Sterling, De Bruyne, and then rotating with Cantwell and Dendoncker, those two. And then up front, Ashley Barnes and Agüero. That is how I could fit in some of the most consistent performance in the Premier League so far at the moment. But I'm telling you now, for somebody to bring in Agüero, it's going to be so... If you're
you're literally chopping your team and just basically going bargain basement in defence and midfield. You're basically just rotating budget players, like you said, in order to bring Agüero in with the likes of KDB and Sterling. But if they're returning points each week, what does it matter? What does it matter if you're having to bring in, rotate through the likes of Lundstrom and Cantwell and Dendoncker and Peters and things like that? I mean, it may be a great strategy. It may be, and I'm telling you now, there are people out there doing it, and it's serving them well so far. So who knows? They may be onto something. I personally won't do it. I think that it's a little bit too top heavy for me.
A quick question for you, Jason, from Cameron Rudge. Jason, would you change Firmino and Sterling for Son and Agüero?
No.
There we are. Simple and quick. Who's next on the call then, Jason?
It's a bit too much of a knee jerk. I think Sterling will still. I mean, you'll take Sterling out, and Sterling will get 2 goals and an assist next game against Norwich, and I think that it's going to be one of those games. If you can get both of them in, that's great. But if you're going to choose between Sterling and Agüero, my preference would always be Sterling. Sorry, next caller.
Yeah, bring on Stein, I think.
Let's bring in Stein. Stein, the man. How you doing? You're live on the Sunday night surgery with Steve and myself, Jason. Stein, can you hear us?
Yes, I can indeed, Jason.
How are you doing, Stein?
Oh, I'm doing absolutely wonderful. In fact, I have to inform you, I've got an injury. I could possibly be out for a couple of weeks.
You've got an injury?
Oh, what have you done?
Well, because of my score this week, Jason, I done a Michael Jackson spin and kick, and I now have a slight groin strain.
Where are you in the I know what your team name is, but I can never find you in the Cashman League. Where are you?
Steve, that's because I've gone sky high like a rocket, mate. So you, excuse me. I am Saturday I jumped up to 42 from 79.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so
are you Peckham Pumas?
Yeah,
that's the one. Peckham
Pumas. I like it. Right, let's just bring your team up on the screen now. Stein's Peckham Pumas. Oh, for God's sake! Look at this score. Look at this.
Jamie Vardy. What? Tell us about this captain. Tell us with some enthusiasm.
Was that a mistake? Was that a mistake, or did you genuinely think that out of all of your players that Jamie Vardy was going to be the one to bring you the points in?
Here's the thing, Jason. All week I had it on Kevin De Bruyne because last week I was convinced Kevin De Bruyne would haul. He didn't.
Yeah.
So I kept on him all week, thinking Liverpool at home against Brighton. And then the last minute, because of my worries about Kane not outscoring Agüero, I switched and I thought, well, maybe Vardy can keep pace with Agüero. And so, hey ho, it paid off. But
I mean,
what I was really happy about was that if I didn't have the balls to go with Vardy, I would have been okay with Kevin De Bruyne. So I'm really happy.
you are absolutely ridiculously good. I mean, this is crazy. 75 points, and you can even get away with playing 10 players. You didn't even need 11 players to play, because your whole of your bench didn't get you a single point. That's just ridiculous. I mean, 2 out of the 3 of your defenders returned you 1 point. I mean, but you had the Alexander Arnold, you had De Bruyne, you had Vardy, you captained him, you had Kane that returned you a measly 6 points. But wow, I mean, the score 75 is amazing, but I mean, there's a lot of ones in that team.
Yeah,
but you've nailed the captaincy. This is it. This is the whole thing. The whole thing. Captaincy is so important. So important. This is a perfect example how one person can move away from the crowd, move away from the Salah crowd, move away from the Sterling crowd in the fact that you don't even own him, even move away from the De Bruyne crowd and go one better in Jamie Vardy. And it's just, I mean, congratulations. That's all I can say. Just congratulations, and look forward to a massive green arrow and rise up the ranks. Do you know where you're going to be in the overall ranks and in the cash league? Is he gone? He's gone. Stein, do you know where you're going to be in the cash league and the overall rank?
I've no idea, to be honest with you. I assume I'm going to move up 40 seconds.
I assume you are.
But
well, it's all down to the Kane pick today. Because remember, this is based on today's games now. Tomorrow's already happened, so we're talking Harry Kane, and that's the only. Oh, and Coleman. So 7 points. So however much 7 points will push you up, depending on what other people around you've got.
8 points because I've got Sibelius as well.
Oh, Ceballos as well. Right. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
So depending on what.
So those ones, Jason, hopefully they'll pay off this week.
Hopefully. I think that I think that you've just. Who's your captain going to be next week?
Yes.
Have you decided? Have you thought about next week's fixtures and who you're going to captain? Because after that Vardy haul, surely you're going to be. Are you still there, Stein?
I'm still here. Yeah, I seem to be disappearing at some point.
Yeah,
I'm convinced I'm going to be captaining Salah next week.
Salah.
Oh wow! Even though it's an early kickoff.
Sorry.
Even though it's an early kickoff.
Yeah, but what I've got Salah and De Bruyne, so I could go back to De Bruyne, but at the moment I'm on Salah. So,
next game week. Sorry, next game week. All right, okay, guys. Pedantic much. Next week is the break. Of course it is. You got plenty of time to decide your captain for next game week. 2 weeks to go. But wow, massive congratulations. I mean, I certainly would be. So I take it, but the fact that you bench Martial, you're just keeping Martial in your team, and you're gonna, because he's gonna be back after the international break, and Solskjaer needs a goal scorer in his team.
Correct. So Martial will be back.
Martial will be back, and Greenwood will be back on the bench. No, I massive respect. I mean, you played Greenwood. You've banked a transfer. Is that right?
Yes, I've banked a transfer.
So you 2 free transfers going into the international break. You've nailed this week. I am very jealous of you right now. Well done, and we look forward to speaking again soon.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. We've got over 250 people watching the stream at the moment, and as ever, I'll do the usual quick admin at the moment. If you are enjoying the stream, just simply hit the like button, and of course, if you haven't subscribed and you enjoy our content, hit that subscribe button. On to the next caller, Jason?
Absolutely. And the next caller is going to be... Let's bring on Chicken Tikka Mo Salah. Chicken Tikka Mo Salah, also known as Charlie Bit My Finger, also known as... I don't know what other names you've got, but Charlie, welcome to the stream.
Evening, lads. How you doing?
Evening, Charlie.
Charlie, have you had a good week?
It's decent. I'll be getting 62 points with Kelly coming off the bench.
62 points, decent score,
Yeah.
very, very decent score. With Kelly coming off the bench, you jammy sod.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I find it amazing. Ryan and Button, nothing. Yeah. Thank you for the subscribe, by the way, Vinicius. Van Dijk, Digne, Wan-Bissaka played Button.
Yeah.
It's really worked out well for you. Martial, Sterling, obviously Kelly coming on for Martial. Sterling with the captaincy fail, like myself. Salah there with 6 points. Kevin De Bruyne. You've got Tammy Abraham in, a player that I've now owned. Are you smiling at that, thinking that Chelsea's fixtures, even though they're kind of stiffening up a little bit, are you still confident with Tammy Abraham?
Yeah. I mean, it's just defensively Chelsea. I think going forward they look good. You know, they got Mount creating, Pulisic is playing better. And yeah, I think Tammy, you know, he's getting good service. He's getting opportunities. You know, it's not like, obviously he scored 2. And obviously I transferred in De Bruyne and Abraham, so it paid off this week. So I'm very happy with that.
I think that, I mean, what did you think of me transferring in, basically taking out Wan-Bissaka and bringing in the TAA and taking Rashford out for Abraham? Do you think those were good moves?
Yeah, I think especially Trent. That's who I want as well. I think.
Are you going to try and free some money up for Wan-Bissaka, or is it too difficult?
No, I think I can do it, but it'd probably have to be Martial. Maybe. Yeah, I'm not. I don't because
maybe like Trossard or Grealish or.
I'd probably get Dan James in because he's 6.1.
yeah, Dan James. Yeah. Well,
I mean, he's their only, you know, sparkle from the game against Southampton. I thought most.
I don't know if I'd take a
awful.
-4 bringing Dan James in though, even if it does involve TAA.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I'm just not like at the moment. I'm just so not convinced with Man United. I just think that they're just not. You shouldn't be considering any Man United personally, but I mean, again, it's who you feel is going to perform, and Dan James is performing for United. He does look really lively. It's just I'm just sick to death of talking about it. Why do you make an early transfer? Alexander says it. Because I don't know. I just got rage transfers going on at the moment. So I'm not a professional fantasy football player. Don't take tips from me.
Yeah, especially Aaron Wan-Bissaka.
Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Don't listen to me about Aaron Wan-Bissaka. I was wrong all along. He hasn't done anything for us. No, I mean that team is pretty much set up. Have you got any other concerns other than Wan-Bissaka and Martial possibly in your team?
No, I think everything's pretty decent. It's just I think everything's decent going forward. Obviously, Pookie got that game against Man City, but I think with obviously Laporte getting injured, and I think it's either Stones or Otamendi is injured as well, so they might be a bit leaky because Brighton did have a few good chances. So,
and they may put Kyle Walker at centre back possibly, and then maybe this Cancelo.
Maybe.
Yeah.
We just don't know with Pep. It's just that's the thing. I considered. Obviously the Laporte injury, but there's just so much uncertainty with Man City and their centre back position that I just wouldn't want to run the risk of choosing the wrong one.
Definitely not.
I agree, Vince Chapman. Aaron Wan-Bissaka is a quality, but he's just the team that he plays for. Can't keep a clean sheet, absolutely, and we just can't win the midfield battle. Man United cannot win the midfield battle against Palace, against Southampton. They just were shoddy, and to be honest with you, I'm glad I got rid of him. You're saying, why am I doing early transfers? I feel great. That's why. I didn't want to wait 2 weeks looking at my team with Wan-Bissaka and Rashford in it for a minute longer. I had to get rid of him. Simon Bellamy also makes a point in chat. I saw him make a point in Discord earlier as well. He was fuming with Zinchenko. Apparently Zinchenko didn't play too well. I didn't see the game because I was in London without a phone. Apparently he misplaced the ball, which led to the Port collision. So it was kind of like, will Pep kind of punish Zinchenko? I don't think so. I think
No.
I think
he should be all right.
I think you're reading into it a little bit there, but Simon, I think Mendy's a long way off starting, and I can't see him playing Cancelo there instead of him. But you never know. But yeah, other than that, I mean, you got to be happy. It's a decent squad, decent score. You got Abraham in your team, and you did well with the picks that you chose. So, any other thoughts?
Definitely. Just keep it going, lads. I mean, fair play to Steve-O as well. That was class yesterday. That was insane. But yeah, hey, just keep it up, lads. Doing a quality job.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Charlie. We'll speak soon, my friend. You take it easy.
Cheers,
Enjoy
lads.
the break. Enjoy the international break. Take care.
Cheers.
Yes,
Thanks.
yes,
Bye.
absolutely.
Got quite a few people queuing up to come on. Who do you want to go on next?
I was going to go Tom FPL because he's been there for quite a while.
Tom FPL, right? He's currently muted at the moment, or deafened. He's deafened. There we go. We'll see if we can get Tom FPL on air. Tom, if you can hear us on the stream. How you doing, Tom? You right?
Of course he is. Played his wildcard and got 79 points.
Hello.
Tom, how you doing? So you 79 points, played your wild card. You must be. I'll do a Steve-O. I'm stealing his line. You must be absolutely loving life.
Yeah.
79 points, Tom. Whereabouts are you in the world now?
Top 50,000.
Top 50,000. Are you in? Are you in our cash league?
No.
So you're just in the community league. So you're going to be. So wow, top 50,000. It's been green arrows pretty much for the last few weeks for you now, isn't it?
No, last week was a big red.
What did you score last week?
I don't even know. It was bad.
It was bad. Okay. Well, there's a big green arrow this week then anyway.
Yeah.
Just going through your wildcard team at the moment, we've got Ramsdale, Kelly, Dummett, Zinchenko, Christensen, Mane, Mount, Sterling, Allaire, Agüero and Firmino. Very different picks from the standard norm. I'm sure that if you were to come to me and Jason, it'd be the usual. I wouldn't be going with Firmino, I wouldn't be going with Dummett, I wouldn't be going with Christensen and stuff. So,
Well, what have I said about Firmino from the start?
what made you go with Agüero captain?
Gut feeling.
Okay, you must be overjoyed
literally
with that captaincy pick because it was absolutely sublime.
Yeah, I mean, 32 points is like almost half of my score. So
Yeah, absolutely. Who's coming
I get
on
that
for
every
Christensen?
week.
Is anybody coming on for Christensen?
I reckon Christensen will play the next game.
No, I get that, but will anybody be subbed on? No, okay. Thanks for your time there, Tom. Let's bring on I don't know.
Chab. Let's bring on Chab. Chab. I spoke to Chab for a while. Chab, how's it going?
He won't be happy with
Chab,
the
can you
fact
hear
that,
us? Hello, Chab. Can you hear us?
Yep.
There we go.
I'm here. I listen once I hear the wake word.
Chab, are you there?
Hello.
Hello, Chab. Have you posted your team in the Rate My Team?
No, I haven't. I was just finding the cash league.
He's in the cash mini league. He's about 20 something. But he may have dropped.
38th. I was last
38th. Have you
something like that before the update. Anyway,
have you had a good week?
Oh, you're 36. 36.
Okay, let's bring your team up.
36. And this is the gentleman, Jason, that had Kurt Zuma yesterday. Fraser Foster got 5 points in the end. How? We got 2 bonus points. You must. Wow. Okay. Where on earth did that come from?
Yeah,
That's just, oh my god, like, dude, literally, I don't know about it. This team is just, it's a story of two sides, isn't it? It's like you've got Zuma there, you got Greenwood there getting you 1 point, you got Mason Mount and Pookie, which we've all got as well. But I mean, you've just got the points again from Foster 5 points, De Bruyne 13, Sterling obviously captain with 6, and Salah with 6. I mean, it's above average game week. It's not that bad, really, is it?
I won my head-to-head as well, which I was quite surprised at.
Won your head-to-head. I mean, Chap, as a Chelsea supporter, I've brought in Tammy Abraham. Do you think that's a good move?
Done exactly the same.
You've done exactly the same, really? Would you like to let us know how you've brought in Tammy Abraham? Is it revolve around a Martial removal?
And he does, yeah. That's where I needed to get the funds from. So,
who did you downgrade? So, who did you downgrade Martial to?
James.
To James.
Oh, really?
I've done a few other little transfers, so it's done a bit of.
Oh, did you do your mini wildcard that you said for a -8?
Yeah.
Okay. So who did you bring in, if you don't mind me asking, other than James and Abraham?
My team's looking quite similar to yours now, but I've got Pope in goals now. I've got Soyuncu instead of Zuma. I then put Dan James in midfield, and Abraham up front.
I assume you took out.
So Wickham and Martial came out then as well.
The
other two. Yeah.
I assume that you were going to take Wickham.
Oh, wow, nice.
Well, so I think that you've done your moves now. It's a long time to go till game week 5. Hopefully, there's no injuries to any of your players, because you'll be really up the creek then.
Still got my wild cards back up, so that's the way I looked at it.
Have, and I know a lot of people are doing their wild card to catch price rises. I'm not tempted myself. Last year I did do it, but I just like I said, I think if I was to wild card to do price rises, I'll be getting rid of players I want to keep just to bring in players I don't want that are going up in value, which is pointless, really. Whereabouts in the world are you going to be after tonight?
I've dropped about 100k, so I'm about 320,000 at the moment, something like that.
Still really good for this, obviously, game week 4. Still very good. Are you confident with your team going forward?
Looking at it now, and I'm really happy with it. I can see where I can make moves if I need to as well. I've got the structure I want. I've gone from a 4-5-1 to a 3-5-2, which I'm happy about.
I think it's been the whole Zuma thing though. It's just not. It's not worked for him, is it? Since coming back to Chelsea, it's just. He's just not looked comfortable in defence, has he?
It's got me a net gain of 1 point over his 4. That tells the story, I think.
It's just absolutely just. You would never have thought that, would you? You really would not. How is he not? He's going to be dropping, surely. You'd imagine people are going to be transferring him out en masse. Yeah, a -1 game week 1, 2 points, 1, and then -1 again. That's just that's just unbelievable. I think not many people would have believed you if you'd have told them that. But
the worst thing is I dropped him for the Norwich game. Lundstrom, I played Lundstrom and he got 0 points that game week, so I missed out on one of those points. I literally got nothing from him.
Zuma's literally just not done anything. So, just compounding the insult there. But you got rid of him now, so it's not to matter. Any final thoughts on the game week and anything else you want to add?
Not really, just everyone good luck through the next couple of weeks. Hope that everything goes well during the international period, and thanks guys for everything that you're both doing.
No, thank you.
Just to let you know, Chab, Jane's not a Jane.
I didn't. I was one of the ones who did not assume the gender.
No, and it's very, very good not to either. Anyway, thank you ever so much, Chap,
Yeah.
and I'll speak soon. Cheers now.
Guys, bye now.
Right,
Let's bring on Wendy.
Sorry?
Let's bring on Wendy.
Wendy? Waynetta.
Let's bring on Mr. FPL. Don't actually recognise that name.
Go on, Stevie, take away. Mr. FPL, you're now live on air. How you doing, buddy?
Hello.
Hello, Mr. FPL. Steve-O, take it away.
Well, you're live on air. How's your game week gone so far? Well, not so far. How's it gone? Full stop.
So I ended the game week on 53 points after wildcarding. So for that reason, I'm a little bit like I'm a bit disappointed, but
So-
it was bad overall.
So for people listening audio, we've got Tom Eaton in goal, Suyunshu, Robertson, Matip, Zinchenko, Keane, De Bruyne, Salah, Sterling, Mount, and Pookie. Didn't we have you on the show yesterday?
Yes, I was.
Have you changed your name?
I have, because I've got like a YouTube account, so I've like kind of changed it to match that.
Were you Ezo yesterday or
I
Ezo?
was indeed, yeah.
Right. Okay. So, are you happy with this team now? It's got its points, or are you now disappointed that you used your wild card?
I'd say I'm a bit hard, like in the middle, because I know like carded and did very well. I got like 70 something. Where I obviously didn't do as good swap, but I'm a bit half and half. Like it isn't the worst, but it's a bit annoying because I've been getting like 50 every week, and I just can't seem to make that step up. But hopefully next week is looking like I've got good fixtures for all my players. So yeah, I'm looking forward to, well, not to next week, to the next game week to hopefully get some more points.
Yeah, I mean,
You must have
you
been-
should always set your wild card up for the game. So when we spoke, it's the long run, it's the long haul, isn't it? FPL.
Yeah.
It's not about just a one game week. It certainly wouldn't be wild carding then taking hits to getting players out that you think you've made a mistake on. It's very early. You've got the double Liverpool there that's returned you. You've got the Zinchenko, Sterling, De Bruyne picks there in your team. You've got the Pookie in there with Barnes as well, which will be coming in for next week at Brighton. Yeah, I think you're fine. And I think you've also posted your team for next week. And then if I bring it up, I had a quick look at it before I found the other one, and it looks really strong. Obviously benching Sayuncu. You're choosing to play Pookie at home to City. Are you thinking that Man United will probably get something out of that game?
Well, I mean,
at home to Leicester.
I think with Vardy, I mean, I'm a United fan, so I'm going to be cheering them. I'm hoping they do well, but I think with Vardy on, when I've been chatting to people in the Discord, and they've been all like, Vardy always scores against United. I just think there's no chance of us keeping a clean sheet. But I also think because it's at Old Trafford, Leicester won't keep a clean sheet either. So I've dropped Sancho.
It's going to be 2-1 Leicester. It's going to be.
I think
United,
you're very generous there, Steve-O. I think it's going to be 2-0 Leicester.
Yeah.
2-0.
I just right now, United are just
can score.
they're just a mid-table team for me now. No. It's just I'm still down about United at the moment. Just give me a few days and I'll perk back up again. That's why I needed to make the moves now. But you heard about my my transfers, taking Wan-Bissaka out for Trent Alexander-Arnold and Rashford to Tammy Abraham. Do you think I've made a mistake transferring them out so early?
I think you're spot on, mate. Not gonna lie. I think bringing Abraham in, he's on form. Like, yes, he's got a tough fixture. He's got obviously Wolves away and then Liverpool. But then you look after that, and they've just got great fixtures. So I think, especially because Tammy Abraham's on form, that was a great decision to bring him in. And well, with the Liverpool defence and the most attacking one, you can't go wrong there. So I think they were brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I'm going to get criticism from people that have done the early transfers. Obviously, I did it before Abraham's price rise as well, which was nice. Yeah, I mean, we're going into an international break. I certainly am hoping that I don't get any injuries in my team. but we'll cross the bridge if and when we get to it. So, but back to your team, Barnes away at Brighton. I am worried. I don't own Barnes. You've got Mason Mount in that difficult. Well, I don't think it is a difficult fixture. I don't know if Steve-O would disagree. I think that Chelsea will score goals, but again, will they concede? Probably. I mean, the only real one in there is Keane, really, for me. I think Bournemouth probably will get something out of that game. But to be honest, it's the strongest team. I think you made the right decision in benching Cantwell. I think playing Pukki is a solid idea, even though you do own Zinchenko. I think that's probably making the most of it. I mean, Steve-O, would you think you do the same if you own Soyuncu? Would you put him on the bench and play Pukki?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think that Leicester ain't going to keep a clean sheet under Brendan Rodgers.
and now with the injury to Laporte, I think that there's going to be a bit of a weakness there.
Yeah. I think Norwich also they are like a greater team on the like creatively and on the attack, and I think obviously with Laporte's injury now, there could be a way for Pukki to nick a goal.
I know Steve-O. Sorry, Steve-O. Very quickly before you bring your point across, because you're going to talk about the history. I do not see Norwich doing very well at all defensively against City, and I think if City wanted to, they could score 6 or more goals. I really do.
Yeah, I'm predicting. I said 6 or 7 based on Norwich's defending, but all I will say is that the last 2 fixtures at Norwich have been 0-0. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I wouldn't be.
This is like back in 2015.
I wonder what the odds. I wonder what the odds are for 0-0.
Probably 4-1, but
yeah. No, decent team. So you're going to be saving your transfer?
Well, I mean, I think so. I think because obviously got good fixtures and everything. I don't see really anyone I want replacing. I think. Debatably, you could say Mount out and maybe bring someone like Harry Wilson in or Ceballos if he starts. But I think I've just done my wild card and I couldn't have got either of them in last week, so I don't think there's a point changing now. So I think I'll bank it. Hopefully.
Or even just wait until the deadline or towards the deadline in press conferences, just in case there has been a niggle that's been picked up by one of your players that you may need to sort out. Certainly from my point of view, taking the hit now, that I'm in a very precarious position, that very mindful that if any injuries do occur over the international break, that I'm going to have to strongly consider what I do, and probably play Dendonka or something like that. But no, but thank you ever so much, Mr. FPL, or whatever you want to call yourself. I think it is Mr. FPL now, for coming on and joining us this evening. And we hope to speak soon.
Thank you for having me on.
Cheers now. Take care.
No, thank you. As per usual, we've got a lot of people viewing the stream at the moment. You're clearly enjoying the stream. Just show your support by hitting that like button, and it really does help the channel. Can we bring on Nix? He's got a very good score.
Yeah, of course. We're bringing Nix on. He's currently got himself muted and deafened at the moment, so hopefully he can unmute himself if he's listening to the stream.
2033, Jason.
2033. Yes, there we go. I think he's unmuted himself now. Hello, Nix. How's it going? Nix, can you hear us? We'll try one more time.
Come on, Nix.
Nix, can you hear us? He's...
Well, I'll let everybody know in chat and audio, etc. 78 points. Had Agüero captain. De Bruyne, of course. He's going to get Greenwood coming on for Perez. But he's got Zaha and Delafeu in his team, would you believe? And yeah, I just wanted to know why he's got Zaha and Delafeu, to be honest with you, but it doesn't matter. Who's the next caller then, Jason?
Very good score there, Nix, if you can hear us. Sorry that we can't
FPL Hot
get
Sauce
you on. Yeah, we'll get... my Discord is running really slow at the moment. I don't know why.
Well, you shouldn't have done maintenance then. No, in all seriousness, you you've done a lot of good work on that Discord now. But FPL Hot Sauce. Let's get you live on air. Are you there, my friend? Sorry, I thought you were going to be bringing him in.
Yeah, if you just drag him in for me, that might be better.
He is there now. FPL Hot Sauce, you are live on the Elite FPL Sunday Surgery, my friend. Come on, Hot Sauce, you're wild-carded. We want to know how you went. No, he's not there.
We'll try again. Hang on a second. FPL Hot Sauce, you can hear us.
Mate, yeah, sorry about that.
Perseverance always pays off. Always pays off. Welcome to the stream, dude.
12th in the Elite FPL Mini League, and he got 78 points yesterday, and that's the total.
Happy days. Yep. Please
FPL
that. I mean,
what's going on? Absolutely.
I don't want to be that. It could have been better. I don't want to be that guy, but literally, I had a draft with like Abraham, Kevin De Bruyne, Trent. But like you say, if you would have offered me that amount of points given the game week, I'd have took it. I think the big one was the captain, as it's come down to on it. So,
I mean, that is just absolutely just. I mean, again, it's another person that's bought an Agüero. Well, just put the armband on Agüero, and you must be absolutely salivating at the prospect of Agüero versus Norwich next game week.
Oh, absolutely. It's just a no-brainer now. It's kind of flipped. It just shows you how quick the game can change, because you may remember you had me on the show sort of after the Saturday games last week, and I was fuming. I weren't happy. All my players had gone. And that's what that wildcard's there for. I feel like my hand was forced. I would have liked to have been a lot more patient. Forced into the wildcard, and then, able to catch price rises all week and just come out with the goods. Just shows you what one good game week can do at this close time.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I'm thrilled.
Absolutely.
I mean, 12 plays. I think I'm at like 2-3 points behind you or something.
Mate, I'm worried for all the people that have got Agüero in their team behind me. I'm absolutely fearful, because I think Agüero, like Stevie said, I think Agüero could net a hat trick. I really do. I just only hope that Sterling can keep up with the scoring and be on the assists or get some goals himself.
I think he will. Yeah, it won't be many games where he blanks. City score 4 and Sterling's not at the end of it. You won't see that very often. So, yeah, sympathy for everyone who had Sterling captain, but I just can't see. You can't just not bring Agüero in and not captain him for a home fixture. He just loves it, especially when you know he's going to play the 90 minutes.
Nail on the head, mate. Absolutely nail on the head. I said, I mean, if you bring Agüero in, you've got to give him that armband. I mean, he's just prolific. He's absolutely prolific, and well done to you for doing that. Allaire as well in your team. You've got some great picks in your team, and even Walker as well. It's a different pick. Interestingly,
I'm a bit disappointed with Laporte injury, because obviously, the clean sheet potential's still there, but you like.
I think Man City's clean sheet potential is a lot of it is down to possession. I mean, they just literally dominate the game, and a lot of the time the opponent can't even get out their own half. I think that Norwich will try their best to attack, but ultimately I just think that they're going to be absolutely taken apart.
Is Steve-O still there? Because he was very curious yesterday about. He had me on air, and then he noticed that I had Adrian and Pope, but he watched last time. Is he still with you? Are you there, pal?
He's there, yeah.
Yeah, I was just wondering why you've gone with a rotational pairing of goalkeepers rather than sticking with, say, just Adrian as an example, or even Nick Pope. I'm assuming Adrian for Liverpool defensive coverage.
Yeah, so I'm one of them who obviously still doesn't think the double up in Liverpool defence is a bad idea, and it was just a route into the Liverpool defence, and I thought the minute Alisson comes back, Adrian will get benched. There's no question about it. Klopp's not going to mess around. He's not suddenly going to give him 45 minutes each. So for me, I was hoping for Adrian to play the Burnley game and the Newcastle one, and then hopefully, after that, Alisson will come back and I've got Pope ready to come in. So that's kind of what that is. And then I'll just move. I know transfers are always precious, but I'm confident if I can get 2 in the bank, I can just move Adrian down to a 4.0. One of them weeks where you've got nothing to do. So I'm happy to do that.
Are you going to be playing Cantwell and Pookie next week, or are you going to be playing Lundstrom or Gilbert?
Yeah, I'm going to be playing both of them, Gilbert and Lundstrom.
Oh, okay.
And then I've put Well, I like Lundstrom at home for Southampton's a no-brainer.
No. I mean. So you're going to bench Pookie then?
No, I've posted my team on my team. So.
Oh right, okay. Let's have a look to see who you're going to bench. Let's have a look.
Yeah, it's a 4-3-3 as it stands.
Oh yeah, I see it now.
I've got no issues if this 2-week international break means Alisson comes back in, then Pope's good to go. So I didn't need the 0.5 in the end. In fact, you know what? I'm lucky because if I would have had a 4.0 goalkeeper, I probably would have upgraded Walker to Laporte. So it just shows you how just little things like that can go your way.
I mean, that's a very strong team. I mean that screams crazy points. Agüero away at Norwich. I think you'll be coming on game week 5 again on the Sunday with a big smile on your face. I really do. If you stick with Agüero and captaincy, which I'm sure you will. I will keep saying it. Anyone watching, if you haven't got Agüero in your team and you've got the ability to bring him in, I think you're going to be loving life. I really do.
The only one that I think's a must-have, obviously, yes, KDB would be nice, and he's clearly ticking along. He's got his first goal. I think Trent Alexander-Arnold looks so dangerous. That guy is going to have so many double point hauls this season. So he's the only one. But I think the risk of taking Digne out, because you said it before, you at the Nine Head, you said every man and his dog's got Digne in. So
yeah.
Maybe I'll move from Walker. I mean, I want the City treble up, but I would even be happy to maybe take Walker out to get Trent in, literally, because I think attack is where it's all about for City. So yeah, it's just Trent is the only missing thing I see in that team. But you like to say you can't have them all.
You can't have them all. No. But Steve-O, any final thoughts about the team?
No, but I'm just going through the history of Liverpool versus Newcastle. In the last 2 games, Trent Alexander-Arnold has got himself 3 assists. And in the last 3 games, Mohamed Salah has scored 3 goals and got 1 assist. So I think looking at your team, I think you're going to have a bit of a headache regarding captaincy, despite the fact you've got Agüero. But Salah does look very, very tempting indeed as well.
If I had Agüero and Salah in my team, there's only one.
Yeah, absolutely.
For me. But yeah, the history is not to be ignored, as we've learnt. Yeah, but thank you ever so much, FPL Hot Sauce.
Yeah, cheers, boys.
Cheers. Speak soon.
I still stand by that Greenwood decision as well. Steve asked me yesterday. It was only because I think Martial will be coming back and James deserves to start, and obviously Rashford deserves to start still. So still no room for Greenwood, but yeah, this United was the only damper on this weekend. But I'm happy to be back in the mix. So cheers, boys.
Cheers. Nice. Take care now.
Cheers, thank you. A bit mindful of the time, Jason. Let's bring another newbie. I was going to say Romelo. Don't recognise the name.
Romelo is now in the channel. He's currently got himself muted and deafened. If you can hear us, Romelo, please, can you unmute yourself? Hello. Can you mute the stream for me?
Hello.
Romelo, how you doing?
Hi, what's up?
Welcome to the Sunday surgery. How has your game week 4 been, Romelo?
Oh, it's not been too bad. I think ended up on about like 67. I put it in there with my team.
I can see that 67 points, massive score for this game week. Really, well above the average.
Yeah.
You've got to be pleased with that. Let me just bring your team up. For the people listening in audio, we've got Heaton in goal, giving 3 points. Digne with the 5 points. Zinchenko 6 points. Alexander-Arnold with the mighty 11 points. De Bruyne 13 points. Salah 6 points. Sterling 6 points because he captained him. Cantwell, Martial returning 2 and 0. Who did you have coming in for Martial?
Unfortunately, Greenwood. I thought he would get a start.
Well, you got one more point then. So yeah, it's
yeah, not too bad.
Tammy Abraham again. As an owner of Tammy Abraham, you've got to be pleased that he's returned once again for you.
Yes. That was my transfer for this week, actually. I think,
Very
lucky.
Well, I just think it's a good pick. I think going forward, are you looking to keep Abraham? There's a few people saying that about his fixtures, but I think he's a good asset going forward.
Well, looking at his last 4 goals, they weren't like really the best technical goals. They were quite
they were tap-ins.
So...
They were tap-ins. But his positioning, you've got to be in the right place at the right time, and he's got that positioning, and he's got the support in midfield, and he's making the runs. I think I liked seeing him on the highlights. I think he's one of those where you can get some good goals. They're not looking good defensively, but I think attacking wise, Chelsea are good. Martial ? Are you sticking with Martial? You're thinking after the international break that he's straight back in, hopefully going to be getting some points for you, or are you looking to move him on?
Well, last week I took -8 to bring him in, and I feel like it's like not I would prefer not to have Martial, but I feel like because of the amount of United fans and the price rises that you're forced to have a United player, that was why I got him. So that's why I have him for now. I'm thinking if he's not going to be back for next week, then I'll definitely transfer him out. Otherwise, I guess I'll just hold a transfer if he's going to play.
I don't think you need to worry. I mean, I don't see all of your bench, but against Man City, I would imagine that Cantwell and Pukki... Well, sorry, Cantwell will be possibly benched for someone else, or is that not an option?
Cantwell will be benched for Lundstrom.
Lundstrom, yeah, definitely. But yeah, again, makes sense to save the transfer, go into the international break, having saved the transfer, and watch out for any of the press conferences with any of the potential injuries that may occur. But thank you ever so much, and thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thank you very much.
First, how long have you been? How long have you, if I may ask, how long have you been a member of the community?
Yeah. Sorry?
How long have you been a member of the Elite FPL community, if you don't mind me asking?
I've actually just discovered your channel for I think about just during pre-season, and I joined the Discord a few days ago.
Excellent. Well, we're pleased to have you on the calls, and hopefully you can come on again and share with us how you get on for Gameweek 5.
Sure, definitely.
Thank you so much, Romelo.
I'm enjoying all content.
Thank you. Speak soon. Cheers, buddy.
Yes.
Got J&O.
I just want to... Yeah, I was going to say, Seth, the less I talk about my game week, the better. And cheers for bringing in Pukki, J&O, my captain, and thanks to you bringing him in. He failed, so...
You can't blame J&O. We weren't to know you were going to captain Pukki. I certainly was surprised. I can't remember the last time that you've surprised me like that. I literally was like, oh my God, he's actually captain Pukki. And I thought, well, I'll tell you what, I can, if it pays off, I will be clapping on air. But fortunately, I've not had to do that this occasion. But we're mindful of the time. Let's get just a couple of more people. We've got King TriStar and King TriStar. Can you hear us? You're live on air, King TriStar. Hello?
God, blimey. Come on, King. You've got an amazing score. We want to hear about it. Boasting.
King,
3.
King, are you there? One last chance.
Hello?
There we go.
Oh.
King, you're live on air on the Sunday Surgery. You've had an absolutely overwhelmingly good score. You must be wanting to brag to the world. 84 points. Adrian in goal, Van Dijk, 7 points from Van Dijk, Coleman, Wan-Bissaka, De Bruyne, McGinn, Son, Cantwell, Agüero captaincy with a 32, big, massive 32, and Firmino with returning the big points as well. Literally, massive green arrow.
Yeah.
Whereabouts are you at the moment?
In the community league.
Well, just in the overall rankings. If you whereabouts are you in the overall rankings? Have you?
I'm at 1.2 mil, so not that high, to be fair.
Is that taking into account this game week score? Or have you yet to do the live rank?
I don't know if it's it's updated 1.2 mil. Total points 227.
Wow, so that's updated now, is it? Okay, well that's
yeah.
I mean, that's a really good score for this week. You must be, like I've said to previous callers, you must be surely captaining. You must be thinking of keeping that armband on Agüero away at Norwich.
Yeah, to be fair, I'm thinking of triple captaining him against Norwich.
Yes, this is what I want to. I agree. I do envisage Agüero, but I will preface this by saying that. Be warned that I don't think Agüero's away form is actually that great. However, Sterling's is, and Sterling got a hat-trick away at West Ham. So I know it's a very tough decision. I think if it was at the Etihad, I think absolutely throw that triple captaincy on. I'm just saying this as a bit of advice. It's just Agüero's away record isn't particularly that great, but it's completely your decision. And don't get me wrong, I envisage Agüero doing really well versus Norwich. I'm thinking 3 or 4. But
yes,
but to be honest, the captain will be good enough anyway, because I'll take another 32 points, whatever he gets. So
I
mean, I might save it.
And how crazy is it that we're actually looking at a season where Agüero is a differential? I mean, it's crazy. I mean, I remember saying it in pre-season. Everyone was talking up Sterling, and even myself preferring to go with Sterling. Obviously, everyone was writing Agüero off, saying he's getting older now. Jesus is going to be vying for more starts, more game time, and all of a sudden, how people are regretting it. And you know, I just think that you bang on the head. I think you captained him this week. You've got the return, and I'll be very confident and comfortable going in next week. And even with Firmino, obviously no Salah in your team. I like the look of Firmino this year. Wasn't so confident with him last year, but certainly he's looking quite lively and in and amongst the goals and the assists. So I think your team's. I mean, even with Son, I think your team's really kind of a bit at the head there in some of the picks, and I don't think you need to be worried about the lack of Sterling and Salah at the moment.
Yeah, I did play early wildcard, to be fair, though, because I messed up at the start, because this is my first year. So I brought in Son, brought in Firmino, brought in Agüero. I went away from the Salah and Sterling because I thought, I don't know, I wanted to pick something different, and it's paid off.
Well, it has paid off. It really has paid off. And in just a very short period of time, it's paid off. And congratulations on that. And it's an absolute pleasure having you on here and basically bragging, because, you know, we've had a very mediocre game week, myself and Steve-O, and we just only look in envy when we see people with 84 points. But thank you ever so much for coming on. And have you got any before the international break, have you got any transfer ideas? I assume you're going to be doing what the previous callers are saying, playing Lundstrom next week and benching Cantwell. Is that right?
I think I'm bringing Martial back for Cantwell.
Oh, of course.
To be
honest. Yeah, of course, Martial.
But I want to get rid of Wan-Bissaka, because Man United are just letting me down.
What do you think of
so annoying.
What do you think of my moves of taking the early transfers of Wan-Bissaka out, Trent in, Rashford out for Tammy Abraham? Do you think that those are solid moves? Or do you think I'm a bit too early?
I would have done that, because I think Trent's going to go up, to be honest, after his performance. And Rashford doesn't look the best. I mean, the performance against Southampton wasn't very good, so I'd get him out.
Yeah, solid. Yeah, absolutely. Any final thoughts you want to add before we get the next caller on?
No, just thanks for having me.
No, absolutely. And have you been a member of the community long?
No, I joined like a week ago, I think, or 2.
Well, it's a pleasure having you. Thank you ever so much. We'll speak soon, King, and all the best for next week. Literally, another captain, Agüero owner, who I think is going to go into Game Week 5 with Agüero loving life away to Norwich. I think that's just absolutely perfect. Right, cheers now.
We'll take Fantasy Football Focus as our final caller to brag about his Aubameyang and Pepe point scorers today. Why not?
Fantasy Football Focus, you're live on air on the Sunday Surgery. How you doing, my friend?
I'm live and kicking, guys. How are you?
Well, I'm feeling very, very humbled at my little tiny game week score right now, and I've seen some of the Goliath scores that people have been bringing on 70 plus, 80 plus.
Yeah.
Your score's been pretty good as well, hasn't it?
It's turned out all right after today's North London derby, so I'm really kind of relieved. Very happy that Pepe managed to get the assist and Aubameyang the goal.
How do you watch, or if you do watch football, how do you keep up to date with what's going on? Just of interest.
I keep up to date. I watch the Arsenal games on Now TV, or I watch Match of the Day, which obviously doesn't show the full game. But then who could watch all of the full games? You just wouldn't get the time.
So when you were watching the game today, you must have been ecstatic when Aubameyang and Pepe got you a goal and assist.
I was shouting. I was absolutely ecstatic because the Arsenal goals are really soft. Leno spilling, that was just silly. That was a gifted goal. And then Xhaka losing his head. He's a yellow card magnet. I don't rate him at all. Gives the penalty away. And then for Pepe and Aubameyang, well, just Arsenal to keep going, get that goal, and then the fans got behind him more. It was absolutely awesome.
It was a good game. It was a cracking game.
How did Aubameyang, Pepe, and Lacazette look?
Aubameyang, Pepe, and Lacazette looked absolutely amazing. Pepe tracking back. Lacazette could be a defender for his work rate. He does both sides of the game.
The skill, I want to say that the skill that he showed to take that ball, control it did those almost like juggling the ball in the box and then finishing it. That was just absolutely sublime, wasn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
And it's just
the touches, and then it was the last minute of the first half, and the composure to finish the ball. Wow, and he's just so calm and cool. It's just a shame he got injured.
I was expecting Arsenal to pip at the game. I was thinking, here we go, is the third goal, but it just never came, and obviously it was a bit end to end at one point. But I think Arsenal really came back into the game second half, and I think there was points where Bruno, obviously a Tottenham fan, was quite nervous. And I to be honest, I think Pepe and Aubameyang going forward. We are talking about people's teams on this episode of the podcast, and I personally wouldn't go with Aubameyang and Pepe, but you've got to stick with them. They're getting you those points, and interestingly, you've also captained Pookie like Steve-O. Hasn't paid off. You haven't been punished by the Sterling, because of the Sterling blank, essentially. Going forward, for next game week 5, you've got the likes of Aubameyang and Pepe in your team. We're talking about the Manchester City Norwich game. We're talking about City scoring goals for fun. Are you in agreement, or are you thinking, no, I'm going to put the armband on an Arsenal player?
I think the thing that has been debated about Man City is obviously they have so many goal scoring options, and it can be a choice within not all of the teams, but just the choice within Man City who you put that captain armband on, as De Bruyne showed and Sterling did, missing out on the points. So I'm thinking that with the Norwich game, though, as we saw against Liverpool, they don't like to defend. They like to just play their game and attack. So Man City are just going to rip them apart. I'll go for, I think, Aubameyang captain. I think Pepe he needs to find a goal before we start thinking about captaining him.
He's looking good though, isn't he? He's looking really good, Pepe.
Oh, he looks in his element. He's put his FPL flag in the map, so he's one that people will jump on.
Yeah.
But I'm happy about it because everybody else will be on KDB. So would they then move from KDB to Pepe? Well, not necessarily
not
right away. No. So it could do well for me. Well, I'm hoping so.
Well, if he does well for you, if Pepe does go on a scoring run for Arsenal, I think you're going to be a few game weeks ahead of the crowd. I think there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be struggling to get him in for the price point. Again, it's all on the performance of KDB. If KDB carries on, then they could cancel each other out. But at the moment, between Pepe and KDB, for me, I'm verging on KDB. It can all swing. It can all go back. Obviously, Arsenal going forward, they're looking better and better. And Lacazette, for me, I just think he just needs to be playing 90 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And just want to say a quick thing about the Man United players I have in defence. Obviously, Man U not great at the moment, but we do have this international break. Now, we could get a look at Wan-Bissaka and Maguire and see how they got on. Even if they don't play a full 90 minutes, it could be that extra game that actually helps them play well again.
Yeah, but I think it's like the battles in midfield that just aren't being won at the moment. I think the defence are being left exposed. I just think that Lindelof and Maguire at the moment, they're just not. I kind of had a bit of hope with that, with obviously the first win against Chelsea. I had a bit of a hope that they'd get to know each other's game quickly and that they would gel. And I was thinking, you know what, Man United defenders could actually be a thing this year. No.
Yeah. No.
I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced now, and I'm not gonna be starting to say that I well, put it this way, you probably already know I've got rid of Wan-Bissaka, got rid of Rashford, and I feel liberated. I feel like a massive weight has gone off my shoulders. I haven't got this bias of club allegiance anymore. I'm not going to be blinkered to the poor performances and to think, right, no, they can turn a corner, because I genuinely don't think that they can turn a corner. I think they're in a bit of a rut, and I don't think Martial coming back from injury is going to change anything anytime soon. I would love to be wrong, but I've been wrong already.
Well, no, to be fair to you, Jamie Vardy's having parties at the moment, so it might be an idea. I'm slightly tempted to wildcard. Thinking about it, but I'll have to analyse it over.
Yeah, wait and see. You've got plenty of time to think about that. But thank you ever so much.
That's absolutely
coming on
fine,
this evening.
guys. Thank you.
That's an absolute pleasure, and we'll speak soon. 62 points, well above the average, and again, I mean, looking at all the people we've had on the call-ins tonight, I'm pretty disappointed in my score. I have to say, and I think you can agree with me. We've had a pretty bang average game week, but that's FPL, and let's not make any rage transfers much. But thank you ever so much for joining in. Steve, you got any final thoughts?
No other than basically, I'm very happy with my team. I think you're going to be happy with your team now. You've made your transfers. I think they're excellent. Just remind everybody what you did. You've actually done the -4.
Yeah, so taking a -4, I've taken Wan-Bissaka out of my team. Immediately, like literally last night, took Wan-Bissaka out of my team, took Marcus Rashford out of my team, brought in Tammy Abraham and Trent Alexander-Arnold. And I think, you know what? I'm happy. And ultimately, if you can be happy, like you did the other week, Steve-O, when you did your when you did your -8, your mini little wildcard, you were happy as a result of it. And if you're happy with your team, that's all that matters. You don't want to be playing the game unhappy. So, as always, I want to say thank you to each and every one of you guys in chat. I'm reading your comments out. I may not read them out on air. I'm reading them in my mind. What points what points did we get? You don't want to know. I got pretty average score, and so did Steve-O. But we're not going to keep bringing it up. Rewatch the stream, find out how we did. But yeah, thank you ever so much, J&O, as well, for popping in the stream as well. And we'll look forward to the next one. And Steve, do you want to do the admin?
Yeah, the usual line. If you've enjoyed the stream, everybody, just simply hit that like button on your way out. So on your way out, just as you're about to turn it off, hit that like button just to show your support for myself and Jason for what we're doing. More importantly, just to let you guys know, Jason has put a poll up in the Discord channel regarding your community team. And what's the latest results at the moment? It's all about if you want a wild card or not. What's the latest results
The
at the moment,
latest results on the live poll currently in Discord is... Would you like to wildcard the community team was a question asked. 2 people have said yes. And more than 2 people have said no. 13 people so far in the Discord on the poll have said no. So
wow, I'm surprised.
Quite a lot of people saying no to the wildcard idea.
All right, okay, fair enough. I'm genuinely surprised at that, but that's your choice. Yeah, and of course, any new people around here that haven't subscribed to the show but have enjoyed the content and have enjoyed the content throughout the past couple of weeks, we are pretty much a daily stream channel.
Yep.
So yeah, by all means, hit that subscribe button, and yeah, we'll be coming at you pretty much most days. I don't think we're doing much over the international break, though, are we, Jason?
I think we're going to take a break, guys. We've hit the. I mean, I myself and Steve-O especially has hit it pretty hard the last few days. We're taking a bit of a break as well. There's not going to be anything interesting FPL related, I don't think, that's going to be needing to be discussed. But really, guys, it's all about the Discord. Get on the Discord. Link in chat. Join us on Discord. Talk to us in Discord. Chat with us on Discord. And maybe I can bring the Pookie cut out again sometime.
Yeah.
Is hidden away at the moment.
I would say that there's a chance that I may be doing a Southern Hemisphere stream on either Tuesday or Thursday, just to let you guys know that are basically New Zealand, Australia, or somewhere in Africa. They're our main audience down that way. But the point being is that there may be a chance that I'll be doing a stream. But check out through the Discord, as Jason just mentioned, and of course on Twitter at Elite FPL. And I've seen Dan, former co-host Dan, is in the chat right now. He's now in charge of Instagram at Elite FPL. So if you have any questions or any feedback you want to give Dan or whatnot, or do you just want to follow us on Instagram in general, he's in charge. It's at Elite FPL. Other than that, I'm done for the evening, Jason. Yep. I've got to get to bed. I'm sure you're the same, and away we go.
Away we go.
Just of interest, whereabouts are you? Not in the world, but are you near like an industrial machine or something? It's very...
What's going on?
Not a lot really. I'm waiting to go to gym. What about yourself?
Live on YouTube doing a stream.
Why do you feel that you're constantly changing your team, mate? Is it there's just so many ideas?
So many ideas, so many different perspectives. I blame Brett Mollison for his 5 at back, because when you see my new team...
Wow.
Brighton home, they couldn't buy a goal in the last season.
Well, I don't know. Dan's got Glenn Murray. I think he'll have a word to say about that.
I'm detecting possibly a German accent. I'm probably completely way out. But where are you calling us from?
South Africa.
On the first day, I literally just typed in FPL, like first draft, and yours came up like first. So I thought, I'll watch one of the live streams when it comes on. And then I thought, this is a bit long, isn't it? About 2 hours in. And then 3 hours later, well, an hour later, I was like, yeah, these seem alright, you know. Steven's not that bad.
I have one question for you. I want you to predict the order of the Elite FPL ranking. So, like, who do you think will finish first, second, and third out of y'all three this season?
So it's certainly, no disrespect to Dan, but it's certainly going to be between me and Jason. And right now, as it stands, I'd go with Jason because my history suggests that I'm going to be having a bad season.
So I've got the 5 at the back. I just see a lot of value there. I feel like if I don't have Salah, I can spread the money elsewhere and maybe get the points another way.
All the teams now, except for obviously Salah and Sterling, these players, a lot of players are going to change towards the start of the season just because of new transfers. injuries that could happen, and all of that. So for me to tell you now, like personally right now, I'd say definitely if Tammy Abraham or Batshuayi are cheap, I'd get one of them, just because I don't care about the Man United. We can score against them at least 2 or 3.
Hey guys, this season we're using Discord. It's a text and voice application where you can talk all things FPL with fellow community members. You can post your team in the Rate My Team, talk in the general chat, you can look at transfer news, look at awesome GIFs, sign up for our Cash Mini League, look at our previous podcasts, and even join us live on air in one of our streams. We look forward to seeing you guys. Link is in the description, or look at the code on screen.